Hi, it's Lee. I'm up here at West Shore Sportsmen's Association. It's the 6th of March. Today I thought I'd do a little comparison of the evolution of lever guns. So I've got 1873 here and an 1892. First up is the 1873 Winchester. This is a copy manufactured by Uberti and marketed by Taylor's. It's chambered in .38 Special, .357 Magnum. The 1873 is based off of the 1866 Winchester with some modifications, notably a removable side plate. The big difference between an 1873 and an 1892 is the action itself. The 1873 has a toggle link action. Here you can see the toggle link working, and then that's fully closed. The toggle link is not as strong of an action, so it's not suitable for higher power cartridges. It does have some advantages for cowboy action. It is more customizable. The other big difference between the 1873 and the 1892 is how it gets the bolt into the chamber. The 1873 has a brass lifter. The bullet comes directly in from the magazine tube into the lifter. The lifter comes straight up, and then the bolt comes directly behind the bullet and pushes it straight into the chamber. That makes the 1873 much more suitable for cowboy action because it's less prone to jacking out a round. Next up is the 1892 Winchester. This one is manufactured by Rossi. It's chambered in .38 Special, .357 Magnum. The big difference between the 1892 and the 1873 is the locking mechanism itself. So the 1892 has these two big locking bars that go up and correspond to this groove cut in the bolt. So it makes it for a much more stronger action. Here you can see they're in the locked position. So the 1892 is capable of shooting much higher power cartridges. The other difference is the lifter itself. The 1892 has a lifter, but the lifter only comes part way up, and it comes up at an angle. So when the bolt comes forwards, it kind of tilts the bolt up into the chamber. So the 1892 for cowboy action is much more prone to jacking out a round because of that. One of the benefits of the 1873 with its toggle link system is that it's much more customizable for cowboy action. So as you can see here, the lever throw on the 1873 is much shorter than the lever throw on the 1892. That's because the 1873 has a short stroke kit in it, where it has shorter toggle links in there, and that shortens up the lever throw. Makes for a faster rifle for cowboy action. So first up, we'll load up the 1873 with 10 rounds. These are my cowboy action loads. They're a 125 grain 2080 cone bullet, loaded with real light load of clays. One of the big differences, another difference between the 1873 and 1892 is the 1873 is much easier to load. You can see they go right in there. The loading gate pops closed. No problem with getting 10 rounds in there easily. You'll see when I go to load the 1892 that it's much more difficult to load. The loading gate pops closed on you, then you can't get the round in there. One of the modifications that you can make on these lever action rifles is shortening the spring that's in the magazine tube there. If you shorten it an inch or two, you can get another round in there. It also makes it easier to load. So we've got the 1873 loaded up with 10 rounds, and we'll do some shooting. Alrighty. And that's 10. Okay, so now we'll load up the 1892 with 10 rounds. Here you have to leave a little bit of the bullet out to be able to, because once the loading gate closes, then you can't get another bullet in there. So a lot more finicky to load. Oop. They don't seem to go in the tube as smooth either. There we go. Okay, so 1892 is loaded up. That's 10. Okay, so this is Killer Rabbit's 1873. We'll load it up with 10 more rounds. This has a leather butt pad on it. Makes it a little firmer grip in the shoulder. There's not much recoil with these cowboy loads. You do have to use either a rounded or a truncated cone because the bullets are stacked in the magazine like this. And if you had a pointed bullet, the point could actually hit the primer on the bolt in front of it under recoil and set off the whole magazine, so that wouldn't be good. One of the other modifications on this is this has a sure hit sight on it. It's a little bigger brass bead, so it makes it a lot easier to see. Not quite as accurate, longer range, but for cowboy action, that's a big improvement. Has a leather handguard on the lever here. That keeps, when you're levering it, cushions the blow on your knuckles, so it makes it a lot easier to, more comfortable to lever the action fast. So we'll load it up and shoot 10 more rounds. One of the other differences between the 1873 and the 1892 is the 1873 has a dust cover. So we slide it there. That keeps dust and stuff out of the action. With the 1892, when the action's closed, the action isn't open, so you don't get as much stuff in there. So the 1873 is referred to as the gun that won the West. So here we go. Alright, so I only missed one. So we'll load up the 1892 again with 10 rounds. One of the interesting things is you can, if you watch a lot of westerns, is you can tell the difference between the guns. You see the 1892 is a much flatter profile on the side versus the 1873, which has a little bit of a bulge here for where the lever goes in, and it has this piece here where the lifter is. So mostly you'll see in B westerns, you'll see the 1892 versus the 1873. You do see 1873s now because of the importation of them from Italy by Uberti. The early B westerns and stuff, a lot of the early westerns, all you saw was the 1892s because that was all that was available. That's what I mean about not being able to get the lever open or the bullet in there if the loading gate closes. You can modify the loading gate a little bit by cutting down the spring, making it the sides, making it a little weaker so that you might not have that problem. But that's a big problem with the 1892s, is getting all the bolts in there. The other difference, this has the original sight on it, so it's a very, very small bead. Buckhorn sight like the other. This doesn't have any notches on the buckhorn sight, so a little more rudimentary. So here's 10 rounds. Here we go. Just jacked one out. So that's what I meant about jacking out a round. So we'll load that back in there. And that's 10.